Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice, the podcast for women who are done waiting for the one and ready to become the parent on their own damn terms. We're talking fertility, pregnancy, emotional chaos, and the village that it takes to raise a kid. Sometimes you're crying in the bathtub. Sometimes you're crying because your toddler bit you. And sometimes you cry because you chose all of this. Welcome to Motherhood, solo style. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice. This is a story about how the unexpected turns in life can sometimes lead us exactly where we are meant to be. Nicole's journey began with hormone shifts at a younger age. That caused her to start thinking about her fertility earlier than most. But instead of letting that define her limits, Nicole began shaping what motherhood would look like on her own terms. We also dive into the importance of telling children their stories early, and how a surprising discovery within Nicole's own family shaped her perspective on honesty, identity, and learning the truth about where we come from. Beyond her personal story, Nicole is now doing incredible work supporting women who are considering pursuing single motherhood by choice. She offers guidance, education, and reassurance for those navigating fertility decisions on their own. Her story is deeply encouraging for anyone learning to trust that their path to parenthood might be simply different, not lesser. Let's get into Nicole's story. Hello, and welcome to Choosing Chaos. Nicole, how are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Nicole, for listeners meeting you for the first time, how do you describe your path to motherhood?
It's pretty similar to like every other single mom by choice that I have met or talked to. And I told myself if I was 35 and single, I was going to do this on my own.
Yeah.
And I hit 35 and I was single. So I had a different process because I already knew I was infertile. So my path was a little bit different, but started the path to it. And here I am with a 4-year-old.
That's amazing. I also set a timeline. I don't know if you have listened to the previous, but I was like, yeah, by 38. And then obviously now that I'm 40, I'm like, yeah, I probably should have pushed that timeline up because what if I want a second one? I'm running out of time, because that window is very small.
That's the other thing that I hear a lot. And for me as well, I almost wish I started earlier.
Yeah.
But you think about it when we're in our 30, we're still thinking, well, I have time to find the person to build my family with, right? It's not really like crunch time.
I know.
But by now, like a second, I'm 42 and it's the same thing. I'm like, I'll be 43,
Yeah.
So yeah, wish I would have started this earlier.
I know. I started having those conversations around 32 where I was like, maybe I should freeze my eggs or, look into how much it costs to get sperm. Yeah, I waited way too long after the fact. It works out the way it's supposed to for a reason.
Right. And here we are now talking about this. So like if younger women are listening to this and they're like 28, 29, like, maybe this is something that I can do.
Right.
Because when I was that age, I didn't know anybody that did this.
Right. I didn't know it was a thing.
There was like no social media presence about it. Mm-mm. So you really didn't have an example of women that were living this lifestyle.
Because TikTok obviously didn't exist when we were in our early 30s because we're very close in age. And so it's like we didn't really know that it was a normal thing to do.
Right.
Until the last few years.
Yeah, I think it kind of exploded. Yeah. And now I have, Facebook groups, met people that I'm from the Midwest in a big city and they were pregnant when I was pregnant. And now our kids go to birthday parties together and stuff. And it's like this whole community of single moms by choice.
I love that.
And then, talking to other women with childcare and stuff. I don't know if I'm going off into something else, but it's very expensive. Childcare is very expensive. So we moved to a suburb, honestly, just over childcare. Do not pay more than a mortgage for childcare.
Yeah, we could have a whole episode on the cost of childcare and how incredibly insane the wait lists are to get into childcare. But we'll pause on that for a second. Your fertility journey began very differently than most. As you said,
Mhm.
you had a little bit of a different journey going into menopause in your 20s.
Yeah.
What did that change for you emotionally and practically when you were considering this decision?
Yeah, it was a lot different. So I found out in my late 20s, I was in early menopause. Again, for like women out there, like I knew something was wrong, but my providers would always say, because I was young and healthy, it was just stress. I must be stressed out.
Or you're just a
Um,
woman?
yeah, that. And I advocated for a like hormone panel because another woman I knew in her, like she was 30, was having trouble getting pregnant. And then I found out I was in like full blown menopause. I had a conversation, then they referred me to a specialist who told me I will never have my own children. My own biological children is what she had said. So I kind of then that was like, man, I want to have kids. How am I even going to then tell like a significant other that I can't have my own kids? Like, when do I have this conversation?
Right.
Like, do I have it up front? I mean, I never had to worry about that, but
Date one.
I know date one. What
Are
did
you
you do
looking to
with our
have kids?
children?
Yeah.
And then too, it was also like I didn't really know what my options were at the time, other than adoption,
Right.
because TikTok, Instagram, infancy, like that didn't really exist. People weren't really talking about it. When I turned 35, I was like, okay, let me explore my options. And so I was really thinking of traditional adoption. But I was having trouble because the agencies were like, well, moms aren't really like first chosen usually. I was a little discouraged. And then I had gone to a doctor to discuss like just my hormone treatment. And I was telling him about, I want to have a kid. And he had said, well, have you ever looked at embryo donation? That's like a rising thing now. You should look into that. And I had never heard of this. So I did. And I thought, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because I cannot use my own eggs. But I can carry a child. I started looking into that and realized it was kind of harder than I anticipated. And that again, at that time, there weren't like agencies that facilitated like
The
a
donation.
connection.
Yeah.
So I started with multiple clinics to get on embryo donation wait list. One clinic, CNY out of New York, very popular, had told me 4 years was the wait list for an
What?
embryo.
Stop.
Yes.
Oh
And
gosh.
that's part of the thing of me being like, oh my God, I wish I did this earlier.
Right.
Um, so I ended up getting matched through like a Facebook group with a woman out of CNY and had an embryo transfer, and that did not take. And then I ended up creating a Facebook group for single moms by choice looking for embryo donors. So like you're a single mom by choice and you have embryos that you want to donate to another single mom by choice. And oddly, around that time, I did not find my match from the group I created, but I also had told everybody that I knew this is what I wanted to do because I figured somebody knows somebody that knows somebody.
Right. Word of
Um,
mouth. Yeah.
Word of mouth. And so I had matched with a woman in Canada that I loved, like loved talking to her. And this, I had met her from like a single mom by choice, like a big Facebook group when I had posted being like, I'm starting this group. But unfortunately, it was really hard to get embryos into the United States. And this was during COVID, and no clinic would like take me because of their healthcare system.
Right.
So after a long time, I hit a dead end. Well, with me telling everybody I knew, that worked. And I'm just like getting into that because I love this part of my son's story. Was a mom posted in a local mom Facebook group. So like a Chicago mom Facebook group. Hey, IVF moms, what is everybody going to do with their leftover embryos?
And you're like, hello, I'll take one.
Well, I wasn't in the group. I wasn't a
Oh.
mom yet. And so most people were like, destroy, whatever. And one woman said, well, I'm a single mom by choice. And since a donor helped me have my daughter, I want to help another family have a child. But I'm looking for a single mom by choice that can't use her own eggs. I have no idea where I'm going to find that person. And a friend of mine saw it and said, I know your person,
Oh my
and
God.
messaged her. And so a week later, I'm meeting this woman in a park. She lived a mile from me. Met her daughter. A week after that, her embryos were in my possession, and a month later, I was pregnant. Um,
Wow. Oh my
so
gosh.
it was crazy. I was like, this was just meant to be. Sometimes, like when it's easy, it's meant to be, because I had tried so hard, so many failed matches, so many failed transfers. And then, like, within meeting her, everything happened so quick and it was so fast. And we have an open relationship. And I'll say she's absolutely amazing. She is amazing. And our kids hang out, they both know their stories.
Yeah.
So, like, I could not have asked for it to go any better than it did.
Right.
And when I think about like how long it took me to get there, I'm always like, it was absolutely 100% worth it, because my son is the son I was meant to have.
He was. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's almost like as you were talking, I was thinking it's very similar to dating, right? Because you try, fail, try, fail, try, fail. And
Right.
then if by chance you meet the one, right? We are all in this choice for a reason. But if by chance you meet the one, I'm assuming that's sort of how it would play out too. Is like
Yeah. Like,
it's
oh, it was
just
all worth it.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
seamless. All the crap that we've been put through for years will just be totally worth it.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to me that somebody so close to you was just like giving away their embryos, and it's like a sign. It was meant to be. It all worked out the way it was supposed to.
Yes. And she, of course, asked me some questions before to make sure it was like the right fit for what she had wanted. And, I answered them, and clearly it was. But she had said it was really, really important to her that it was a single mom by choice,
Yeah.
because she wanted it to be an open relationship. And she didn't want her daughter to be like, why is my siblings' family structure different than mine?
Yeah.
Or why does so and so have a dad and I don't have
And
a
I
dad?
don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that would be a harder conversation to have, because there would obviously be feelings there from her daughter's side. Yeah. When
Yeah.
you look back on your path to beginning donor embryo, what did you understand and misunderstand about that process? Because that's fairly new to me too. I don't know much about the donation process. So walk us through that.
Just like the logistics of it, like how
Yeah.
it happened.
Yeah, like
So,
what did you sort of understand going into it, and then as you were going through the process, like what was new to you?
so I'll kind of circle back, but one of the things was a piece about like donors, open relationship versus closed relationship. That's the biggest one, is like if you go through a clinic, usually it's going to be an anonymous donation.
Right.
You don't know who donated these embryos to you. So it's like, is that important to you? Is that not important to you? For me, it was important. I wanted open. I don't know why. I just felt like that was better to explain to my son, to be able to like ask questions to. And then I actually went to a therapist that specializes in family planning before I even adopted or received these donated embryos. And she said a couple of things to me that like really made me think. Like, I heard in one of your podcasts, and was like, I didn't recommend it. I highly do. And it might be based on who you have, because she was like, how are you going to explain to your son, you know, where he came from? How
Mhm.
are you going to explain about him being, from donor sperm? How are you going to explain, And so it was all of these questions that I kind of never really thought about.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us don't think about it, until we're pregnant, or, we
Or
have.
later.
So there was that piece about just figuring out like what type of relationship you want to have. Um, and then once it was all that, embryos are considered property. So who knows if that will change. But for both clinics I went to, it was literally you sign a piece of paper. Because I was in different states, each kind of had different criteria about like testing and whatever. But in Illinois, it was like sign a piece of paper, have your legal agreement submitted to the clinic, because the clinic just doesn't want to be responsible for
Right.
anything. Um, and then it was just like a normal like part of like IVF. Like, I went in for the monitoring, but since like I never had I hadn't had a period in over a decade, I just started,
Yeah.
started right away with the transfer like protocol.
Oh,
And
yeah. Okay.
yeah, I didn't have to wait for periods or any of
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Just um
Was your is there any concern when you're doing the transfer and you have already gone through like the menopause?
So I couldn't get pregnant naturally at all,
Yeah.
but Carrie, no problem. It was just
Okay.
like the same hormones. Like I had the estrogen, the progesterone, the pio shots.
Yeah.
Everything was like the same. And literally my protocol was like very similar to women not in menopause because I think they're giving us all the same amount of hormones.
Yeah.
Going back to like what that therapist told me about like, asking these questions. She had always said it's best for children to just know
Yeah.
instead of it being a secret.
Hmm.
Because she had said where they're finding with like the donor conceived community is when it's been a secret and they find out later in their life is where the hurt or the who am I comes in.
Hmm.
And we don't know, but there's not a lot of like children born from like embryo donation right now.
Right.
But she was like, if they just always know their story, it's not a shock. It's not a surprise. It's something that they grow up with knowing. So this all came back to haunt me because about a decade ago, I did a 23andMe test my ancestry came back not what I thought it would be, but I kind of brushed it off.
Wait. What?
Um,
Oh, I can't wait to hear
and
this.
yeah, and then last year, my aunt asked me a question about whether I was going to DNA test my son. And I had said, no, if he wants to do that, he can do that when he
Right.
decides. But I'm not going to make that decision for him. And then I had said, but when I did this test, it came up that I was very Sicilian. And we don't have any Sicilian in our family. And we're, most of us are fair skinned. And she jokingly said, well, maybe your father isn't your father.
And
And then
you're
I did
like,
like
maybe.
a, and I said, but I know he is because I'm related to somebody on his side. But then I was like, wait a minute. So my grandfather raised me. I grew up with my grandparents. My grandfather was like my favorite person, the person I have that strong bond with. And I was like, am I related to anyone on grandpa's side? And so I logged back in. And since that time, I had a lot more new matches. And people that I should have been like full cousins with were half cousins. Um,
Hmm.
and so then I did a little more work and I essentially came to the conclusion my grandfather, the man that raised me, is not my grandfather. So then I had the job of like, do I tell my mother? And
Yeah. And that changes her whole life.
so I told my mother. And here my mother is finding out in her 60s, her father's not her father. And so she then did ancestry tested and it was confirmed she's half Sicilian. My grandfather was Lithuanian and she had first cousin matches of people she didn't know who they were. I saw then that come full circle of
Yeah.
somebody, finding out that who raised us is not biologically related to us. When that happened, it was like very like grateful for my meeting with this woman and very grateful the fact that my son has like he does know his story already,
Yeah.
and he asked questions like, well, if this is my sister, why don't I live with my sister? And everything has been open so that when he's older, he won't have the shock of like, well, who am I related to?
The person who I had released their episode last week, she was adopted, and her story had just always been that she was adopted. And so
Really?
some of her advice was that you just tell them young so that as they get older, there is no shock or hostility or mixed feelings about where they came from, because I can only imagine how that would feel to find out later that there's a lot of things that you don't know about your past or where you came from, and that has to feel a certain way.
My grandma has since passed, but we asked her about it and she is sticking to the story that the DNA test is wrong.
Well, we'll go with that, I guess.
Because I mean she was married to my grandfather, so we still don't know. We still can't figure out who her father is. And at this point, it's like, I love my grandfather and he will always be my grandfather
Right.
and that will always be her father. But she and I both are kind of like, well, who's this other family we don't know about?
Mm-hmm. And you may
You
never know.
know? Yeah.
That has certainly changed a lot, I'm sure, as far as feelings in your family.
Well, then it's like, and I can see where with there's a lot of resentment.
Yes. Hmm.
That's just what the word I can use is resentment.
Yeah.
Nothing changes for the love for my grandfather, but
No.
there's
'Cause he raised you.
resentment for correct. There's a resentment of like my grandmother for keeping this secret.
Maybe she didn't even know at that
And
time
that's the thing.
who
We don't know if she knew or she didn't know. There's a lot of other stuff, but it's not my place to tell. And
we won't get
so
into that.
no one has, and no one knows. And she's the only one that knows, and she took it to her grave. Hmm.
And there it stays.
And there it stays until somebody else does a DNA test that's like, oh, you're a half sibling. Okay.
They do it on the other side, and then they're like, wait a minute. And you guys end up connecting somehow.
Yeah, I mean, and I have reached out to like her cousin. He unfortunately has not like been on the test in years to like ask questions. And then because this should be easy, right? It's a
Right.
cousin. It's a
Right.
mother or father side. We all still live in the same areas. I've done a lot of research, and one side of the family is like, do not contact us. And I have not reached out to the other side yet, but like I had a mutual friend with on Facebook with one of the like daughters that would be my mother's half sibling, and she pretty much was like, "You're wrong. Do not ever
Oh,
contact me again." And I was like, "All right, okay."
probably them. Oh, wow. Yeah. So through your experience, and you have certainly had quite the background here getting to pregnancy and then delivering your son, you've been open to sharing your experience with the world. I've seen it on TikTok and Instagram, but you also help other women who are trying to make this decision, right? You support
Yes.
women on becoming a single mom by choice. Tell us a little bit more about how you realized or when that changed for you that you wanted to jump in and support these women who are considering this journey.
Thanks for asking that. I probably would have forgot about that.
Oh,
So
you're
thank you.
good. Yeah.
And I've been in my career for 20 years, and I'm starting to be like, what am I passionate about?
Mm-hmm.
And I have noticed when I talk about this, people ask me lots of questions. People are like, oh. And so my friends, when I started this, all they froze their eggs because they were like, we see what Nicole's going through, we're gonna freeze our eggs.
Yeah.
Now they're at the point of like, okay, well now I'm thinking about doing this. And the world tells them they can't. Where this like dawned on me was my best friend, she just graduated her master's program. She's a therapist. She can make her own schedule. She told her family, I'm going to be a single mom by choice. And her brother was like, you can't do it. It's too hard. And her
Everybody
response
says it.
was,
Yeah.
well, Nicole's doing it. And he like stopped and he couldn't say anything because he knew I was.
Right.
And she said, she's thriving.
Mm-hmm.
And he again couldn't say anything. And so then I thought, like, these women that know me feel confident to do this because they have an example.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of women out there that
Who do not. Yeah.
exactly that don't know someone.
Right.
I was like, well, this is what I'm passionate about. I decided I'm going to help other women that have questions, that want the example. I'm a single mom by choice consultant. I'm on TikTok as SMPC consultant or Instagram as single mom by choice consultant. If anybody just wants to follow me, I've been trying to post about my life, questions, stuff my son asked me, like, how did I respond to have I ever had a dad? Things
Yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that, women just get confidence that, we can do this and we can thrive at it.
I think we need that because one, we need the confidence to be able to tell our story. And I think because we get so many opinions from the outside world, it causes some sort of fear in women that will be like, yeah, I want to do this. And then somebody says something stupid. And then they're like, well, maybe I don't want to do this because it
Hmm.
is going to be really hard, blah, blah, blah. I might not have the support that I need. Some of us don't have the support we need, and we're still doing it, and we're still thriving through
Right.
becoming a single mom by choice. But then there's also the confidence for our children to be able to tell their story, and I think that that's also really important too, because they're just little kids. They don't understand, and if we're setting them up for success and being able to tell their story confidently, it
Hmm.
makes a world of difference.
Yeah. And I mean, I posted about it on Instagram was my son. the other day I was like, I don't know how he's going to respond to this, but he's at gymnastics and his godmom was in town that weekend. So she was coming to see him at gymnastics and he was so excited. So he was waiting by the door and somebody said, "Oh, are you waiting for your dad?" And I was far enough away where like I wasn't by him, but I was like, "Oh no." And he just so confidently responded, "I don't have a dad, just a mom. I'm waiting for, and then proceeded to say who he was waiting to. But for him, it was like not even like
He
an
didn't
issue.
even.
Just, I don't have a dad. I only have a mom.
Yeah.
Done.
And there should be no explanation outside of that, right? They should just be
Yeah.
able to say that and be done. But we live in a curious world, so everybody needs to know everybody's business, right? Yeah.
Which is why I think he comes home and asks these questions, is because the other kids are asking him, or teachers are asking him, or, we live in an area where there's all types of different families. So some parents are divorced where they have a dad, but their dad doesn't live with them. Another one of his classmates, her mom passed away. Like he's just trying to figure out like where, how his family is different or similar to everybody else's. And so that was where there was one question was, have I ever had a dad? Because he knows like his friend, her mom died, or another friend, they have a dad, but they only see him on the weekends, So he's like, hey, have I ever had one of these?
The family dynamic is so different and just everywhere, right? You never know what somebody's story is or will be. But yeah, it's nice that he's at his young age curious and open to understanding whatever it is that you say too with his story and not having some sort of resentment, back to that word.
Or yeah.
About it.
And it's like, I can't predict the future. I don't know what's going to happen, but all I can hope is that he grows up, feeling loved and safe. And that's what I provide him.
That's all that matters. When you are talking to women who might be considering this choice, what do you feel like they're most likely to be overwhelmed by?
I think two things. One is like financial, like, do I have enough money to do this? That. And so never feeling like they're completely ready because they don't have what they had hoped to have. Like, I don't have a house yet, or I don't have a career, or I don't have that, I think is like the biggest one that sets women back. And if you think about it, like married people are in the same boat.
I was just thinking that they don't.
If we all wait, no one will ever have a kid.
I was going to say, you always hear people say, if you keep waiting, it'll never happen. So just like, you just have to kind of do it sometimes. Nobody's ever financially ready to have a child.
And then it also just like, then if, we're doing IVF, it's of course
so much money. Yes. So much money. I would hope, that makes me think, I would hope that you didn't have to pay for the retrieval part because you didn't do it.
So it's illegal to pay for embryos. So, I mean, if you're going to an agency or something, you're paying an agency for like, the help of like matching you and XYZ. But actually for the embryo, you don't pay for it. So I did not pay for the retrieval or that, but I paid for the transfer and then storage afterwards. I did pay the first one, and I mean, it's whatever, but I paid for, they had back storage. So that was why she was donating, was the embryos were like essentially in foreclosure. And so she wasn't going to use them. And she was just like, I don't want them to get destroyed, but that's what's going to happen. Well, I paid all of the back storage fees for that, which is legal. You can do that. So I did that. And that, like I said, that it was one embryo and it didn't end up sticking or working. But at the end of the day, it was still expensive.
Everything is so expensive when it comes to fertility. Trust me, I get it. Yeah. I've seen the bills and I'm like, oh, how do people afford some of this sometimes? Even just one round is expensive, let alone multiple
this would be
rounds.
the down payment on a house.
Or a house in general.
Yeah.
So back to being a consultant, why do you feel like it's really important for us to be there to support those who are wavering on making this decision?
Because I think it's like, once we have our kids, we realize it was the best thing that happened to us. And so we want that for other women. Like, I am here to be like any woman that's like, oh, I don't know, I'm waiting. I know I want to have a kid, but I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm just like, stop waiting. Because I know you feel the same. Like, a partner can come 5 years from now, 10 years from now. The chance to be a mom really isn't there 10 years from now.
No.
So I really like don't want anybody to miss this opportunity because they were waiting for something.
Right. I think of all the women that I've spoken to, and most of them have the advice, don't wait, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the longer you wait, you don't know what the road is ahead of you when it comes to fertility, how long it's going to take you, whether or not it will even work, and then so on, all the other things that come with it. So don't wait, just do it. If you're considering this, just do it.
Yeah.
And we are here to talk to you about why and the importance of it. And we have amazing little guys that are in our life and just keeping us on our toes.
Yeah. Yeah. And
What?
there's a woman that I have talked to on Instagram or TikTok. I can't remember which one, but her son's 25 now. And so she reached out to me because she was a single mom by choice
Yeah,
with a 25-year-old. And so I'm just like, that is so amazing because I didn't even know, that was a thing 25 years ago. So she has sent me like pictures of her son and like very proud
yeah,
of him. And they seem like nothing's like wrong, who knows, but like they're
nothing's different.
happy.
Mm-hmm.
They're happy,
Yeah.
you know? And so she
Yeah.
she doesn't regret it at all.
There's absolutely, yeah, no regrets with it. I feel like the only thing that sometimes I wish I had a partner to help with certain things, like that dynamic or just the companionship at times. But for the most part, don't really care to have a partner anytime soon. Now, I'm still in the toddler phase, but maybe that will change down the road. Right now, I'm
And I
okay.
don't I don't know about you, but like when my kid was little, I would have just wanted someone for help,
Yes.
right? Help. But I would see women in like mom groups complain that then they also had to like take care of their husband
Yes.
and like they didn't want to be intimate because they just had a child, but their husband like wanted that. And I remember being like, thank God I don't also have that pressure of also making sure someone else is happy,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I think of the month in which my son was born, and I belong to that birth mom group.
Yeah,
And
yes.
so
Yeah,
many women saying those things,
yeah.
or just that I'm considering a divorce because my relationship just isn't the same
Oh,
anymore, or we're
yeah.
separating. But I think to your point, I sit there and I'm like, yep, don't have to deal with any of that anytime soon. I also don't have to
So
share
it
my
is,
kid with somebody a few days a week.
yeah. And I mean, that is also like, we will never, I have friends that are divorced and like they don't have their kid for Halloween.
Yeah,
And like, I don't have to worry about that. I will have my child for
every holiday.
every single holiday.
Yeah.
I don't have to share him. And I do have friends that are very happily married too, So it's just one of those we never know what life
We'll bring our
will
way.
give us,
Hmm.
but we can predict that we know how our life is going to go in regard to like never having to split time with our child.
Yeah. Do you do you feel like not maybe not now, but in a few years that you'll be ready to date? And what does that look like for you?
Um, I don't think I will ever like actively try. Like I don't think I will ever get back on a dating app.
Yeah.
But
That sounds painful in
if
my
like
opinion.
yeah, if like, I meet a dad, single dad that's like at a kid's activity and we're friends and whatever, I'm not going to say no, but I don't think I will actively be like putting myself out there.
Yeah. If
I
I
don't, what
meet
do
a
you think?
man at the grocery
There,
store
yeah, that.
and he's maybe been divorced or just single, maybe I'll consider, but right now I'm okay.
I think we like our kids are our first love, right?
Yes.
You know,
Especially our boys, our little guys. How do you feel about being a boy mom?
it's interesting because it's like I try really hard to put my son in like boy things, like karate. He hates it. he meltdowns in the car about having to go to karate,
Oh,
crying. And he was the only boy in the karate class, which I was like, well, I guess this didn't work. He loves like gymnastics and dance.
that's okay. Yeah.
So so since that's what he loves, that's what he's in. Well, right now I'm not in boy mom activities. I'm surrounded by like dance moms.
But I bet your son is going to be stronger and have like smoother skills and more creative than most of the other boys. So it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, whatever he wants to do,
Yeah.
I will support that.
Yeah. I love
Um,
that.
and he played Santa in his school like musical recently.
Oh,
He's super shy, but he did a great job as Santa. I already see that we might be like the theater dance people, theater dance gymnastics.
I hope he's going to be a famous actor one day.
Yeah,
Maybe he'll be on
whatever. We'll
Broadway.
see. Yeah, 20 years from now, this podcast will be
Yeah.
resurfacing.
What did your mom say about you 20 years ago? Well,
Do you ever worry about that with like your son that like,
the things I say might come back to
yeah,
haunt him. Yeah, I do. I worry about that not only on here, so that's why I don't give a ton of detail, but I also keep his, and I think you might do the same. I keep my son's face off of everything because I'm like, I want him to make that decision of whether he wants to be on social media or not.
mm-hmm.
I don't want to make that for him. But yeah, there are things that I say and do that I'm like, might come back to haunt you.
I
I
think you
apologize.
said something that really resonated with me. That I was like, she is so right. Is that sometimes we find ourselves like complaining about, our experiences. And you had said that you never want your son to hear you talk bad
Yeah.
about men because you're raising a son. And I was like, yeah, yeah, that's true. I would never want my son to hear me say anything negative.
Because then it just creates some sort of thought in their head that maybe there's something wrong with all men, or maybe that men are just
Right.
bad across the board, or
Yes.
like because I'm a guy, I'm gonna grow up to be like all these other men and be a bad person. But that's not the case. Like I want him to know that not all men are bad. And so I don't want to
Right.
speak poorly. Yes, I had a poor experience with a few guys, but that's not all men. There are still great men out there. I do
Yeah.
hear other women that are in our village,
Yeah.
maybe that's the wrong word to use, but that their whole podcast platform is about how men kind of suck. And I'm like, that's not the message we should be portraying to our little kids, whether they're
Right.
girls or boys, because girls will also learn that maybe there's something wrong and I don't want to date a guy because he's just going to hurt me down the road or something like that. I don't want that for him.
Right. Totally agree. Totally agree.
For someone who is listening quietly, considering single motherhood by choice, but afraid to say it out loud, what would you want to say to her?
It's call me. My DMs are open. Um, no, like everything we said, just do it.
Yeah.
You'll never get that time back.
Mm-mm.
That's what we cannot get time back. And like we've talked about, you never know what's going to happen. And then are you going to want another kid? Everything will fall into place and you'll figure it out once you make the decision. And like I said, for me, I have found in my life that what's meant to be is easy.
Yeah.
And so the hardest part really is like deciding to do it and to take the steps.
It's a first step that's hard, right? The first step to
Yeah.
anything is difficult, but I feel like the first step to becoming a single mom by choice is really difficult. And I don't
Right.
know that a lot of women understand where to start when it comes to this.
Right.
When you look at your son today, what's the most meaningful thing about him in his life in this world?
That's a great question. I mean, I just love everything about him, but the most meaningful is just how like emotionally intelligent he is and how sweet he is. Um, he's friends with everybody. And I have had moms say, like, this sounds like I'm complaining. I'm not. All of the moms will come up to me to tell me that my son is their best friend. So we have started getting invited to birthday parties. You will start to get there where there's birthday parties, where I show up and it's just family. But my son is there because he's the best friend. Or like kids that have special needs. And we went on a vacation with one, and she was like, my daughter doesn't really get along with other kids, but she gets along with your son great. So he just like, I don't know what it is, but he gets people and he's friends with everyone.
But that has to be so rewarding as a mama to know that you have raised this amazing little human who has empathy, which is really hard for some people, but also loves everybody. He's
Yes.
just like the biggest heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's going to make me cry. As a boy mom, that's going to make Okay, so 20 years down the road, what if he is listening to this? What would you like to say to him right now?
That I love him. He was so wanted, right? Like so wanted. Somebody else went through a lot of work to create him as an embryo. And then they stored him for 5 years and knew that they, wanted him, but couldn't really do it themselves because she's a single mom. She was like, I'm done with one. And then she then gifted him to me. And then I wanted him so bad. And now here he is.
Did you know it was a boy?
I did not.
You didn't. Oh my gosh, that's also an amazing surprise.
I did not. I knew I was having a boy though. When I was pregnant, I had a vision. So my son's name, I had a dream, and in my dream, I had a boy. And the doctor was like, "What's his name?" And I said the name, and this is a name not even on my radar. So when I knew I was pregnant, I was like, "I know this is a boy." And then I said, "If this is a boy, this is what his name is going to be," because I feel like he wants his name to be that.
Yeah.
So I found out I was having a boy. His name is the name in the dream, and then my grandfather's first name.
That is so sweet that it came to you in a dream. It was definitely telling you something, that's for sure.
I believe I'm a little bit woo like that, so I believe that stuff.
I also had feelings that I was going to have a boy the whole time. And then when my 11-week blood work came back, I was like, yeah, I knew it. Well, Nicole, absolutely amazing chatting with you. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Nicole's journey illustrates how different paths can lead to building a family. From navigating early hormone changes to choosing embryo donation, her story shows how openness to different possibilities can lead to something incredible and meaningful. What makes Nicole's story even a little bit more powerful is how she uses her own experience to support other women pursuing single motherhood by choice, offering guidance and reassurance all along the way. Because sometimes the path we don't originally plan for becomes the one that is leading us exactly where we are meant to be. Before you go, thank you for being here and sharing this space with us. If choosing chaos has become even a small part of your journey, make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss more stories of courage, choice, and connection in the most chaotic, hilarious realities of motherhood. Thank you for trusting us with your hopes and your hearts. Until next time, keep embracing the beauty and the chaos here on Choosing Chaos.